if you're still paying full price for clothes, you're paying more than most people in the store. And you probably don't even realize it. And that's exactly why shopping feels weirdly exhausting now. It's not you, it's the way pricing works. You buy something and instantly wonder if you just got played. You hesitate and you still feel anxious because maybe you missed the moment, or maybe the moment was fake. That's what this video fixes. Here's what's actually happening. Full price is usually the anchor, the first number they plant in your head, so anything lower feels like relief. In the next few minutes, I'll be walking you through 5 shifts that quietly broke full price shopping, the traps that still make people overpay, and how to protect yourself without chasing deals. Stay with me, because the third shift is the one that creates that "I don't trust myself anymore" feeling. And once you see it, you won't shop the same way again. There was a time when paying full price didn't feel like stepping into a trap. Not because brands were nicer, because pricing had a rhythm that made sense. Clothing moved through seasons. Stores set prices and lived with them. A sale meant something happened. The season ended, the stock piled up, the store needed space. You could disagree with the price, but at least you understood what it was trying to be. Now the logic is different. Now the sale isn't an event. It's the environment. You can feel it the moment you walk in. The store looks calm, curated, confident. Then you turn a corner, and you're hit with a wall of urgency. Extra percentage off, limited time, app only, members save more, final hours, today only, happening every day. And when everything is a sale, one question starts whispering in your ear, whether you want it to or not. If the discount never stops, what was the real price supposed to be? That question is exactly where full price shopping breaks. Because the modern pricing game isn't just about money, it's about managing your emotions. It's about pushing you into speed, because speed is where you stop asking questions. So let's get into the 5 shifts that quietly killed the old rules. Not as a lecture, as a map, because once you have the map, you stop feeling lost inside the store. The first shift is overproduction. And this is the root of almost everything you're feeling. For years, fashion learned a brutal lesson. Silence looks like irrelevance. If you aren't constantly new, you disappear. So brands sped up. More drops, more micro-seasons inside seasons, more colorways, more variations, more limited collections, more product than any normal human life could ever realistically absorb. And it worked, right up until shoppers slowed down. Not because everyone suddenly became disciplined and enlightened, because life got heavier, costs went up, paychecks didn't. People got tired of buying things that didn't feel worth it. People started noticing a truth that's hard to say out loud without sounding dramatic. A lot of clothes weren't matching the price tags anymore, so shoppers changed first. Quietly, without a meeting, without an announcement, they browsed more. They hesitated. They left carts abandoned like graveyards. They started treating shopping like research instead of a fun impulse. And that single behavioral shift turned inventory into a crisis. Because inventory is not just clothing. Inventory is cash trapped in fabric. It's warehouse space, it's shipping schedules, it's rent, it's pressure. And here's the part most people never see. Inventory doesn't just sit there. It loses power every day it sits. Trends cool, seasons rotate, attention moves. A piece that felt urgent in week 1 feels optional in week 4. And once something becomes optional, the store has a problem. So stores did what systems always do when they're under pressure. They pulled the fastest lever, price. That's why the discount signs don't feel special anymore. Not because someone woke up generous, because stores became defensive. They needed movement, they needed cash flow, they needed the machine to keep moving. And the moment price becomes a pressure valve, full price stops being the price. It becomes the first number in a negotiation. Here's a quick receipt you've probably watched happen in real time. An item launches at a confident price, the kind that makes you pause. Then a week later, it's limited offer. Then members save. Then extra at checkout. Then final hours. And somehow, the item is still there, hanging quietly, like it was never actually urgent only framed that way. Same product, different urgency costume, and that's just shift 1. The second shift is returns. Returns used to be an exception. Now they're baked into shopping. People order multiple sizes. They treat home like a fitting room. They send half the cart back. They try and decide later, and the store absorbs the mess. But a returned item doesn't come back as clean inventory. It comes back as uncertain inventory. It has to be shipped, sorted, checked, rebagged, retagged, restocked. Sometimes it's creased. Sometimes it's missing tags. Sometimes it smells like perfume. Sometimes it's clearly been worn, even if nobody admits it. Sometimes it's fine, but it comes back too late, after the moment has passed. So stores build risk into the original tag. That's why prices can feel inflated even when the quality doesn't match. Because you're not only paying for fabric, you're paying for volatility. You're paying for the cost of modern shopping behavior, whether you personally return things or not. And that's when full price starts quietly functioning like insurance, not value, insurance. Now, before we move on, notice what's happening already. The first two shifts have nothing to do with you being a smart shopper or a dumb shopper. They're structural. The system changed. Stores are reacting. You're living inside the reaction. But the third shift is the one that messes with your head. The third shift is online transparency. This is where full price collapses psychologically. In the old world, pricing lived inside walls. If you weren't in the store, you didn't know. Now price follows you. Ads, emails, apps, notifications, retargeting. We saved your cart. Still thinking about it? It's not just marketing anymore. It's a constant conversation, trying to keep you emotionally involved. You can compare instantly. You can see what something cost last month. You can watch prices change across days like they're breathing. So retailers stopped treating price like a fixed truth and started treating it like an instrument. They test, they adjust, they create events. They create membership tiers, they create exclusive windows. They create multiple realities for the same item, so you never feel like you fully understood the truth of the tag. And this is why shopping feels mentally exhausting now, because when price becomes flexible, you stop knowing what the honest moment is. And when you stop knowing what the honest moment is, you stop trusting yourself. You start thinking, if I buy now, I might be the idiot who paid the highest version of the price. That thought alone changes how you move through a store. You become more hesitant, more suspicious, and the system notices, so it gets louder. This is the unsettling part. Once price becomes flexible, the product isn't the only thing being sold. Emotion is being sold. Relief, urgency, the feeling of winning, the feeling of being early, the fear of missing out, the comfort of believing you made a smart choice. That's why sales feel strange now, because they don't feel like accidents, they feel like choreography. And the choreography has one purpose: to speed you up. If you've ever opened a site, seen a countdown timer, and felt your chest tighten just a little, like you need to decide right now, that's not you being dramatic. That's a system built to compress your thinking into a moment where you stop questioning. Now here's the fourth shift, and it's the one that changed the culture of shopping without anyone naming it. Full price stopped being normal. It happened slowly, through repetition. When shoppers see constant promos long enough, the brain learns a new rule. The first price isn't the price, it's an anchor. So people began waiting, not as a strategy they brag about, as an instinct. They left things in carts, they bookmarked, they walked away. They checked again later. They called it thinking, but what they were actually doing was building leverage. Because hesitation is leverage now. Waiting is leverage now. Not because you're gaming the system, but because the system depends on your speed. And speed is what you stop giving it. And once enough shoppers adapt like that, stores respond. They don't respond by calming down. They respond by turning urgency into constant noise. More banners. More ends tonight. More only a few left. More last chance. Here's a micro reveal that explains why this feels so exhausting. Urgency works best when it's rare. When urgency becomes constant, it stops feeling informative and starts feeling like pressure. That's why shopping now feels less like browsing and more like being negotiated with. And if you're the kind of person who hates pressure, you start doing what a lot of shoppers do now. You leave, you close the tab. You tell yourself you'll come back later. Even if you don't. That's not indecision, that's fatigue. Now, the fifth shift is where people still overpay without realizing it. New arrivals became the most expensive moment in the cycle. New used to mean act fast or it's gone. Now, new often means this is the maximum number we're going to try before we negotiate with reality. Being early is expensive, and the person most likely to overpay isn't the reckless shopper. It's the busy normal shopper, the person who doesn't want to monitor cycles, the person who just wants one thing and wants to be done, the person who sees a tag and assumes it's honest. Because who has time to argue with a price? So they pay full price to feel decisive. And then 2 weeks later, they see the same item under a different event for less. And they feel that sharp little sting. The sting isn't just about money, it's about trust. The sting makes you feel like you misread the world, like everyone else knew something you didn't, and that's exactly why this topic matters. Because once you start associating shopping with that sting, you either become obsessively cautious, or you stop shopping entirely, and neither of those feels good. So let's talk about the specific traps that still make people overpay, even when they're trying to be careful. Trap 1 is trusting list prices like they're neutral. A high number makes your brain assume meaning, quality, value, a baseline. But in a permanent markdown world, list price often exists to create a psychological anchor. So the discount feels like relief. That means you can pay a sale price and still be overpaying because you're measuring the deal against a number that was engineered to be unrealistic. You didn't necessarily win. You were guided to feel like you won. Trap 2 is urgency signage. Only a few left, ending soon, final hours. These phrases create a small spike of anxiety. Anxiety doesn't make you stupid. It makes you fast. And fast people don't evaluate. They rationalize. They buy something to escape the pressure. And later, they have to live with the purchase. And the worst part is, most people don't regret the item. They regret the feeling. They regret the sense that they were pushed. Trap 3 is assuming sale equals value. Sometimes a sale means it's a good buy, but often a sale is risk management, moving stock, clearing space, turning slow inventory into cash. A discount isn't always a gift. Sometimes it's a symptom. Trap 4 is treating new like a command. New arrivals are framed like this is your one chance, your rare moment, your last shot. But in a cycle-based system, early is the most expensive moment to act. You're paying before the system has to compromise. You're paying while the store is still testing the ceiling of your tolerance. And none of this means you can never buy at full price again. It means something simpler and honestly more calming. Buying at full price is no longer a neutral default. It's a deliberate choice to pay the maximum before the system negotiates. If you know that and you still want it, fine, that's power. If you don't know that and you do it by accident, that's where overpaying happens. Now quick reset, because this is where people either lean in harder or drift. And I want you leaning in. Tell me in the comments, what's one thing you bought that dropped in price so fast it annoyed you? Jeans, coat, shoes, basics, a bag. I want to see how universal this is, because here's the uncomfortable truth. It's universal. The system trained shoppers to wait, and now it's trapped in the world it created. It inflates list prices, so discounts feel dramatic. Shoppers wait because they expect discounts. Stores push harder to break hesitation. Shoppers distrust more. The cycle tightens. And that's why the only real protection now isn't a coupon. It's not a secret store. It's not becoming a part-time price analyst. It's awareness. Protection 1 is understanding you're shopping a cycle, not a price. Almost everything moves through phases now. A confidence phase, where the store tests the maximum. A softening phase, where events start appearing. A negotiation phase, where reductions become more obvious. And an exit phase, where the item disappears or gets pushed out. Once you see the cycle, the first price loses its power. It stops feeling like truth. It becomes what it is, the opening offer. And that alone changes your emotional experience of shopping. It removes the sting of later discounts. It removes the self-blame. It makes the system predictable enough that you can stay calm inside it. Protection 2 is letting pressure pass. The system's strongest weapon is urgency, because urgency compresses thinking. So the moment you feel rushed, you don't need a complex rule. You just need to pause long enough for your brain to come back online. If you still want it after the urgency fades, that's information. If you only want it under pressure, that's information too. Protection 3 is recognizing that modern shopping is often emotion management disguised as retail. Stores are selling relief. They're selling the feeling of being smart. They're selling the feeling of winning. They're selling the feeling of being early. Once you see that, you stop confusing relief with value. And here's one more rehook before we land this, because this is where people usually have the wait, that's true moment. If full price feels like a gamble now, it's because the system made it one, not intentionally to hurt you, but because the system had to become flexible to survive. So the goal isn't to be a better bargain hunter. The goal is to stop playing by outdated rules. Because overpaying isn't always about money. Overpaying is often about believing the wrong story. The story that the first price is truth. The story that urgency is real. The story that a sale automatically means value. The rules changed. Your instincts already noticed. This video is just putting language to it. So here's my question for you. What's the last thing you paid full price for? And if you could go back, would you do it again? And in the next video, we're going one layer deeper, because once you understand why full price stopped working, you start noticing the second game underneath it. How brands train you to wait, and then punish you the moment you do. If this video helped you, don't forget to like and subscribe.